Ready?
Yeah. Count.
Countdown? Alright.
Hello everyone, this is Trials Fusion All Challenges. This is speedrun, which involves getting all 120 challenges that came with the game at release. There's 3 for each track, and we will try to get through all of those as quickly as possible. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Trials, it has a bunch of fun physics, and we're gonna exploit every single one of them, hopefully, and should be a very interesting run. Now, this is the tutorial, which is quite straightforward. Teaches you basically the game. Leaning is really important, and the acceleration and the brakes, especially the brakes, are very important. So we go into the first track immediately. The 3 challenges in this are destroy all the flowers, endo guru, which is the hold an endo, which pretty much is all if you have other terms, and full throttle. This is the only place where you can do the endo consistently. It's possible to get that in one attempt without having to reset. It's kind of tricky, but now we're continuing this track to get the rest of the flowers. This one. Okay.
Just a flower.
I missed the flower. So there are a few flowers on this track we have to destroy. One is back here. It's not. Some of them are fairly lenient. You can miss them and still get them. And then you have the last one here, which some people might struggle with on this bike. You have to jump over that rock, and then you have to roll back through. So immediately we get to the most infamous glitch in this game, which happens randomly. We have no control over it. It's popularly named as the Pirate, and yeah, it happens, and it could make 2 very interesting levels. Now we're doing full throttle, which is more difficult than you think. You might think that holding the throttle all the way down all the time is quick. Nope, it is not. We have to actually slow down at some places to keep a very good driving line, because the driving line is what is important to go fast. And another thing to note with this speedrun is that we also try to get as many medals as possible, including as many challenges as possible for each speedrun, for each track on it. Some tracks we can get all 3 challenges and complete the track with medal. Some tracks we need to do each challenge by each other, and some tracks we can do all of them, but we get a medal other than gold. Then it's writing that to make it fairly quick, but also consistent, because you can do some things which could make things very difficult, but there is a lot of things you can go for which would save time, but lots of things that you should do as well. So the first challenge was an afterburn challenge, where you pretty much get out through the air, and you have to land on a platform very high in the air, which is actually more difficult than you think, because you have a limited amount of boost. The second challenge is holding a wheelie up the red ramp, and the third challenge is to just complete the track with 10 flips without falling. This is going quite fast. I'm trying my best. Balancing act does not have any challenges because it is a skill game. The challenges are only in the normal challenge tracks. And we do this to get 3 gold medals. It's quicker to complete this track with gold rather than trying to get the 3 other levels in college tracks that have challenges. So this is absolutely helping the way of getting through the speed run.
And it should be pointed out that he bailed out there at the end because he only needs to get 200 meters to get the gold medal. So to maximize his progression, but at the same time minimize the amount of time to get the gold medal, he just bails out right at the breaking point where he takes him over to the point where he's going to get the gold medal.
So here we have the roach. This is the second training program, and we start to get a bike which is a little bit faster. It's a very steady bike. You know, there's not much suspension in it, but it's, you know, it's the bike that we consider to be you know, very stable. We're just going to go back here and get straight into the next series of challenges.
Also, one thing to note, pressing circle or B to reset the checkpoint makes it skip dialogue, so that's faster.
Yeah, he's right. Every time that we press B after getting through, some of them you have animation sequences, and if you hit B on the checkpoints, you can skip that entire sequence in the training programs to go that little bit faster. So here we have arguably in the top 2 for the hardest challenges in the game. We try and get it out of the way as soon as we can in the speed run. Essentially what's happening here is we're not allowed to touch any of the pipes with our front tire. So we have to ride pretty much every single pipe you see, the multicolored ones, the ones that are grey and yellow. And I don't believe we hit it, but just to be safe, we're going to reset it here. But yeah, this one we like to get out of the way early because you know, if we leave this to the end of the run, it can be quite a tough one to do if you're in good pace.
And part of the reason why he reset there, even though it wasn't clear whether or not he hit the pipe, is because there's no actual indication in the game to whether or not you failed the challenge until you get to the end of the track. So the chance of him had barely touching it and then getting to the end of the track and finding out that he didn't will take more time out of the run. There it seemed like he might have touched it, but I think he's going to keep going and see if he did touch it or not.
So we didn't get it, but we got a silver medal. We could continue on the speed run from here, but again, we have to come back to this, and every level has a load. So it's just worth it to get this out of the way as soon as you can. The second hardest one is top roach, and you'll see us end the speed run with that much later on.
Yes, this challenge is where another instance of the tire glitch can occur and really get in your way.
This, Susie. You got it.
It doesn't happen that often, but these type of pipes are notorious for allowing tire glitches. And if your back tire gets caught inside the physics of the pipe for just a couple seconds, it can throw your front tire back down into the surface, which will fail the challenge. So just being very careful with the throttle, making sure to not touch his front wheel.
Save it. No.
That should not happen. Anything that happens in this game, it's not the easiest. So I didn't touch there because the front wheel did not do it.
So that is exactly what I was talking about earlier, where you can get a tire glitch that'll throw your front wheel down into the pipe.
Might take it with taught by the controllers.
We good. Brake hard. No.
That's,
we could come back later to the cleanup of this. If just.
I will.
Okay.
I'll give it.
Yeah. Again, the order, the reason they're talking about coming back is they're there are certain challenges that we actually can't do right now that we have to wait until further points in the game.
For example, on this track, once you complete the any percent, which the any percent is included in all challenges because you have to unlock bike unlocks that happen after the end. And we come back to this track with the rabbit, we come back to this track and do the remaining 2 challenges. You got this, dude. For anybody who hasn't played Trials, I will say to anybody who wants to pick this game up that it does take a lot longer than you may think to get used to Trials. It has a very steep learning curve. We got it. Nice, dude.
Nice.
Okay, we good. We finally got it. So as we were talking about earlier, the only key that we have is a visual representation of knowing whether we failed the challenge or not before we've had it. So right there you saw it pop at the end of that level, and that's a little bit what we were talking about. We don't know that the challenge is going to pop until we have to keep our visual cues. And moving on here, we're starting with Shivering Isles, and each track has the core driving line, but with this challenge we're going to get flown all the way back into the behind the start point, high as you can get, and there is another driving line which is above the default driving line.
And he's got to be very careful about his throttle in this section. Again, as Blaze mentioned before, it's not just a matter of holding throttle as much as possible. You have to be very careful about when to also not hold throttle, and in these sections it's very easy to overshoot one of these rocks and land in the area in between. But he got it first try, so that worked out good.
And every single one of the challenges has an easy, a medium, and a hard challenge. The one that we just did there was the 1200. There's also a 2400 and a 3600 point challenge to every track.
So this next challenge he's going to try to do is going to be to bail out from the top
I'm doing that.
of this. Oh, you're doing that second? All right. So he's going to do... This one is harder than it looks because it's a very...
Essentially what's
fragile
happening
area.
there is we're having to hop and be very precise about it, because there's a little light bulb that you at the end of that concrete pillar, if you will, that we have to jump over. And you have to bunny hop very late to be able to get over the tip of it.
All right, so now he's going to do the...
It's called making waves, and essentially we're going into a cannonball and trying to get as close as we can to the outside of this cliff edge. And so that's... None of these challenges we do until later on, because we have to unlock the more technical bike. It's the bike that's more bouncy, it's the bike that has the more variety of techniques that's possible with it because of the suspension on the bike. We like to call it, I guess, the expert's bike. It's called the Pit Viper. We'll see it a lot later on, but again, we have to keep our medal counts going, so to unlock the next chapters. So we just speed run through this track, and we'll come back to the challenges later on in the speed run in the cleanup section. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and read some out.
Yeah, so we've got a few donations who have come in. So first of all, we've got a $10 donation from the Pistol Star. It says, "Hey Blaze, good luck with the run, dude. Good luck to other guy too." We have a $5 donation from Gents UFI. It says, "Good luck with the run. Get in." We have
Get in, boys.
$3.22 from Wasteless. That says, "Best of luck, Zzzlol and Blaze. Looking forward to the Rocky Rocks on Rocky Road. Our hype." And finally, we have a $20.02 donation from Anonymous that says, "Donation to rename Steiner to KRob16 in FF9. He's my favourite FF9 runner." So thanks very much for that.
So this is the first portal in the game, and what this is on the default track we go through a little, blue shimmering ball, and this will teleport us into another section, which is usually above the map or out of view distance. And it's just a series of blocks that we have to get over and go from one side to the other, and it's the challenge done. A little bit trickier than it looks because we are using the bike with no suspension for that.
So here he's going to attempt a time saver that, oh, and I think he got it. Oh,
so close. There's a loop above here, and the intended way is, when you're not doing the challenge is to ride the loop. You take the loop all the way around, and then it shoots you really fast as you drop. Here, the challenge requires you to basically skip the loop entirely and just go straight down.
And it's incredibly precise because how far in the transition of the ramp you land determines your speed coming up the next part. So you see he landed really far on the other side, so he wasn't able to make that gap. So you have to land right in the crux of that down ramp in order to keep enough speed to make the next jump.
One thing that also differs, if I got that, I would have had a silver at the first try. If I get it and come out gold, it could matter later on.
This should be good.
Should be good.
We got it. Nice.
Nice.
Now I have to finish the track with silver.
And again, the reason that he's restarting to make sure he has 0 faults coming into the end of this track is not to finish a challenge, but to guarantee that he has the 1 extra medal to help with the progression until he unlocks the last bike in the game. And
the majority of the medium levels, this is a medium difficulty. If you fault on it, you don't get the gold medal. Gold medal is 3 points, silver medal is 2 points, and bronze is 1 point. For the most of the run, we are trying to get the golds. Of course, a tally of constant 3s will add up, so we unlock the next chapters as fast as we can. It makes it so in this category we don't have to do much FMX or skill games, which you will see in a lot of the other trials fusion categories out there. This one's hilarious. We got it just by 0.725. Nice.
So the goal in that is 150 meters, I almost missed it. Not the drive or anything. So now we get into the more technical, challenging tracks. For the roach, we get to learn some new techniques. The most important one, the bunny hop, which is probably one of the most important techniques to know properly. It becomes a very vital part to get correctly. And we do the same thing here. Reset at the appropriate checkpoint to skip the dialogue. Next track, which is probably everyone's least favorite challenge, called wall length technology.
Or as I like to call it, back of the net.
Yeah.
Get in.
And everyone who's tried this challenge knows that, stuff happens when you interact with other objects, especially round objects. So this could go very well, or it could go very bad.
Yeah. And as Blaze mentioned before, the top 2 most technical challenges in this run are pipe phobia and top roach, but many people consider this to be possibly the most frustrating because there's a lot of unpredictability that comes with this ball. Like what you can see right there, it just got stuck underneath his engine. Sometimes it can get spit out behind the back wheel, but so far he's doing a pretty good job of keeping it in control. And sometimes this means just slowing down, making sure it's flat on the ground. So that's what I'm talking about as far as the unpredictability of this and why it can be such a frustrating challenge.
Yeah, we have as much we can try to create consistent ways of doing every single jump with the ball. You can't do anything about stuff like that. When it just like suddenly bounces in front of you, you have no chance of recovering. And again,
But for the most part, you can recover it, you know, if you take enough.
if you take enough care and go slow enough, but still fast enough to actually get past every obstacle, then you could go very far, even how much.
A few backward bunny hops as well will make it to where you can get the ball from under you and back in front of you. Again,
yeah.
that's just nothing we can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah, this can be one of those points in a run that will get you through a section of the run in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It really can just rely on the randomness of this single challenge.
And you guys will see me do the exact same, and the outcome will never be, you know, the way it was the time before. So in a minute we will get it, and.
All right, so here's an example of what Blaze mentioned before about getting the ball back from when it's behind you. So he's going to go up on his nose wheelie, and he's going to hold back, which is going to force the ground underneath him towards him, or in this case, the ball. So he's going to shuffle backwards in a nose wheelie, which is harder than it looks on the roach, because the roach is not the most agile bike. And he's just going to let it roll underneath him, and once it's low enough, he can lower his back wheel down and it'll catch it. There he goes. So
He has to wait for the ball to roll all the way to the right because there's no wall to the left. The left is just
RNG,
straight
let's
down.
go. God damn it. We will get this, guys.
So yeah, this is one of those challenges where it's really no kind of being later, but
and where did it come from? Nobody knows, but now it's in front of him.
Okay, so we got a quick donation, $20 from Anonymous. It says, "Hey Blaze and company, wish you all the best of luck with as many saves and get-ins as possible and as few chokes
it's
as you
one of
can.
those,
Happy to donate to a great cause. Thanks to the organisers and volunteers for keeping
The ball
everything running
has
smoothly, Kappa.
properties
And
that it
thanks to
will
the
do
runners and everyone else for
damage
putting on
to
a great
the
show."
rider. The rider has a certain amount of damage set it when that reaches zero. Crash. And there are various things that apply to that. Very, very small touches. They might not crash you, but huge ones will probably deal a lot of damage. Which in that's the ball went through the ground.
So now the ball is stuck in the ground, and I think it just fell through. I don't think he's going to be able to get it out. Yeah.
So yeah, if you don't understand how random this challenge can be, it's frustrating for even the best players.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff it's easy to brush some of this stuff off as player mistakes, but there's been very, very little to no error in Blaze's play right now. It's just a matter of the ball cooperating, which it does not like to do. All right, so he caught it, executed that really well. Did a nice little headbutt. All right, so he's got it on the last ramp. Now this can be one of the trickiest sections because it's very easy to hit the ball too hard here and have it shoot into the ending gap. Will it still go?
No.
Nope.
So you have to balance the speed of the bike, the ball. You have to control it so that it doesn't land on the other side. Because if it does that, you have a very small chance of getting to it, and it will fall just before the goal. and it's a sometimes you take it for granted that it's actually quite difficult to get that, and yeah, it's something you really have to practice on a lot.
And for anybody that's just joining us, this run is Trials Fusion Challenge %, which involves completing all 120 optional challenges in the game from a blank save.
Talk about all the different game styles that we'll be seeing in the run.
Oh, yeah. So obviously you could probably talk about it.
Well, like,
About different game styles, different environments, speedruns and ninjas.
different speedruns that are in this game, or what do you, different parts of this run.
How are ninjas and speedrunners in this game?
This game is a surprisingly large amount of variety of play to it, as far as there are different ways to approach this game. There is a large amount of people that just play the single player career, but there is also a large community of people that focus on getting the fastest possible time on each individual map. Now this involves, so we did a nice recovery there. Fortunately the ball did not cooperate, but this involves studying each map and figuring out exactly where your rider and bike and individual wheel needs to be at any given millisecond to shave as much time as possible off any given run. There is another group of people in this game that like to, instead of focusing on completing stuff in the quickest time possible, they like to focus on completing the hardest tracks possible. Now this falls into the category of custom tracks, which are created by different users that get to difficulties further past extreme. We're not going to be seeing any of that really in this run, but that's just another aspect of the game.
So the ninjas of this community, we have quite the difference between ninjas and speedrunners. We have kind of different concepts, but we have also some skills required in
Still
ninjas,
gotta feel it.
which are just extremely difficult for regular people. The most difficult tracks available are so difficult only if you can even do them. And with maybe 100 more faults and spending a lot of time. So playing the game is just not to get 0 faults across time, but also to get across extreme hurdles, which includes amazing tricks, which kind of abuses the physics engine in very interesting ways, which makes this game really amazing.
All right, so we're coming up on the final section. All right, it bounced above him, and now it's back.
Okay.
Alright, he got it.
So, finally past that, the run can now continue fairly well as well. Now we are going to go to 2 challenges. This is one point we're going for multiple challenges. It's also a thing. Full throttle and getting 15 flips. Doing both of these is... Yeah, this track also has a few spots where getting the tire glitch.
Yeah, tire glitches happen most often, like you saw there, when the bike is going very fast. We'll have to deal with tire glitches far less often when we get into more of the technical tracks, as we won't be going at quite as high speeds.
And when we get to the end here, since we're going full throttle, the ending is very difficult. Most people might have issues with it. Okay.
Nice.
So you can do a trick there, which leaning to the right will reduce your speed, so you hit the downslope that's on the other side there. If you hit that, it's guaranteed to give you enough speed to get over the little edge there and pretty much make it easy to get to the finish. If you don't get it, it's actually very difficult, because if you land on the upslope just before, you will most likely hit the hole between the finish line and explode.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of fun coming up here.
Yeah, so this is now we're starting to getting into what this category really is about.
So here, the objective of this challenge is to defeat a penguin AI in a game of tennis. So, as you saw from the last map, there are a lot of trials-based challenges, but there are a lot of also completely random, kind of all over the place miniature skill games, and this is one of those.
In the Trials editor, you can make pretty much anything your heart desires. You put enough time into it. You can make FPSs, you know, literally games where you're not on a motorbike and the entire game is you're controlling the character, the Trials guy himself, or you're controlling a block that's firing lasers to destroy asteroids. I mean, there is so much that you can do in the Trials editor. It's a game editor within a game, and it's a really awesome thing.
The possibilities and what comes out of the creator community is amazing most of the time. There's always something each month that just like amazes you. So now we're done that challenge. We're done now for 10-foot vaulting. Different from this challenge to the other ones are that you don't have to complete the track to get the challenge. Which means we can do 2 challenges in one. Now, we're gonna hit a billboard and grab onto it.
Not too early.
So, that introduces us to a new mechanic in the game, which is bailing out. It's like an explosive tied to the bike, which blasts you in what direction you're leaning against and what posture the bike is in. This will be used in many occasions, and it looks very spectacular at first, and could be quite fun if you play with a multiplayer with belt.
There are challenges like this one where you have to bail out to get to some certain part of the map. And there are also some challenges that it isn't required, but there are certain circumstances in which it is faster to bail out to something rather than get to it on your bike. And we'll see that in a lot of occasions too in the run.
Yeah, so also one thing we tried to go for there was the gold medal. It is very strict. You need a 102.
We're literally like 0.3 off.
Yeah.
That medal won't matter in the course of the speedrun. We just have to adjust our pathing. Okay, so here is the FMX, and this is the brand new in Trials Fusion. If none of you guys have seen Trials Fusion before, it's a really cool, funky system. There is so many different types of tricks you can do, and depending on which the bike orientation is, you can, there's 3 different directions. So you've got up, left, and right. And if the bike is pointing directly up, you get 3 different. If the bike is pointing across, you get 3 different. If it's upside down, etc. You guys get it. And they're all pretty humorous. It's an awesome addition to the game.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be actually playing a lot of the FMX specific tracks in this game, so you're not going to really see the extent of the combinations of trick systems and stuff like that. But we will be doing a lot of FMX tricks as part of challenges in the game. So you'll see a good amount of different types of tricks going down throughout the challenge percent.
If you guys are wondering who the commentator is, basically it's an AI, and the appearance of said AI was released in one of the most recent, in all the DLCs. There was like a little comic series, and it's something that we might be showing a little bit later on. She's basically a female. In Trials there's these things called squirrels. You guys, if you've ever played Trials before, you might have seen in the past, you know, there are hidden squirrels on some tracks. With Fusion it's no different, but they take it a little bit further, and we might elaborate on that a little bit further later.
And we'll see some squirrels at the end of this track, potentially.
So right here we have to go back twice to activate 2 different challenges. The first one is that little glimmering circle of green that you see on the floor, and when you go back the second time you activate all these signs, and we have to collect a specific amount in order to get the challenges, and it goes for the entirety of this track.
And you'll notice you won't necessarily get every single sign, but the challenge only requires you to get a certain number of them, so it isn't necessary for him to get every single sign.
Yeah, absolutely. You can miss 4 of these signs and still get the challenge.
So this is another instance of completing 2 challenges at once, because another challenge is to activate the 3 cannons in the level. And the way to do that is to find these 3 green buttons. One of them was in the back at the start, and another one he went up that little lift to it. The last one we'll see at the end of the track, and this is while he's continuing to get all these squirrel signs.
So I missed one challenge there. If you don't have enough speed up that ramp and don't get a trick, sometimes you will just not have enough time to activate the trick.
Right here is the last circle, and it's a tiny one. You have to reverse a lot of the time to get it. It is possible to hit that without reversing, but it's tricky. And as you can see, we've got loads of squirrels here.
Now if we wait for the challenges to pop up, if we reset or go ahead now, we will waste a lot of time.
The trigger for some of the challenges to activate, you need to wait at the end and go through an animation sequence, and then they'll pop up.
Because you missed Proud Hero, are you going for gold on this?
No. It's we'll just literally bail out after we've got the challenge. Sorry, exit. Okay, and this is the one that we missed a little bit earlier. And it popped a little bit late, but we got it.
So, there are a few different challenges in this run that involve getting to a certain point in the track quick enough to accomplish a goal. And this track will see the first instance of that.
On this track we will only do a speed run first, because we can do all 3 challenges at once with the pit viper later, because getting the gold medal in this track requires, I think it requires to pretty much, we won't make it if we do any of the other challenges other than that one, which is...
Basically, there's a warp zone at the end of this level, and it's extremely difficult to do it with this bike, the bike that has no suspension, so it's why we come back to it and we do it later on with the Pit Viper, when we unlock it.
So that's just consistency. One of the things that you can do to kind of save time, but sometimes it's better to just not do it, because in the long run it will most likely be the plus system. Again,
some of the skill games we have to go into, and the majority of the skill games require you to get to 200 meters for the gold. It's very quick, it takes literally no time. This is not part of the challenges, but we need those medal counts to unlock the further advanced sections of the game.
And again, you're going to see that he bails out the second he crosses the threshold to the gold medal, because he doesn't want to waste any time after he's already gotten the distance required to achieve the gold medal.
Okay, so right here is the first Unyielding. We saw it earlier on one of the skill games. The third event that we saw was an Unyielding skill game. This is the first Unyielding in the challenges. And what's happening here is, to do this, we can't lean. So the rider will always be in the upwards position. And the only controls that we have are the acceleration, and when you spam it, you slowly turn right. And when you spam the brake, you also turn slowly. So you just a combination of these to try and get your bike to orientate in the right order when you're falling. Otherwise, of course, you just, you'd fall on your face, you'd fall backwards.
And a lot of the times you'll see that ZZ is going to overcompensate backwards slightly because of the mechanics and the brake and acceleration. It's easier to slightly turn forward during the unbreaking challenge than it is to turn backward.
So the way that was intended to do was grab the wire with the holding mechanic, which is when you hold Y after bailing out with Y. But what we did there is, at the peak of the ramp, we bailed out at a specific moment so that we missed the chain entirely and got straight onto the bullseye for the red button. And the third challenge on this track is to complete the track with X amount of flips. Adds a little bit more difficulty to it.
The complete the track with a certain amount of flips is a pretty common challenge throughout this run for different tracks, and we'll even see this type of challenge appearing as late as the extreme tracks. So the approach to this kind of achieve this amount of flips gets a little bit more complicated when it's involved in more technical tracks.
So this is the first introduction of a track and challenge for the track, which will completely change our field of view. So right here we're looking at a behind the rider position. You cannot see the front tire that easily, and for the most part you just have to judge the way that you're landing to be, the correct orientation. Obviously if you're too far forward, you will flip forward. If you're too far back, you're going to slide on your ass. That kind of stuff, it's just a little interesting field of view challenge here, and it's kind of a nice one. And right there, we'll come back to in a minute. You may have saw a red line. The second challenge is located in between those two red lines on this track.
Mm-hmm. Another one we'll have to come back later to involves the rabbit bike, which we only unlock after getting to the end credits. So you'll see we'll be generally progressing at a somewhat normal rate as far as difficulty goes, but there will be a point when we completely come back and we come back to easier tracks, but because we have new equipment, we'll be able to get through the challenges that we originally weren't able to.
So we mentioned a minute ago, as we were in the other field of view for the challenge, that there's a challenge coming up here, and there's two red lines, and you basically, like Pipe Phobia earlier, it's a little bit easier. Just have to ride it for the entire back tire and just hop to get over the top of it. One more wonder.
Okay, so I'm continuing, even though I've done all the challenges I need. I can continue the track. Yeah.
You got it.
To get the gold medal. Again, the medal route in this game is kind of strict, so every medal we can get could save us some time. But we don't know yet if it will save time, but it might.
And quickly, we have two donations. We have one for $5 from Vantier.
So here we're going to have our second Unyielding challenge in the run. This is the same idea where you are not able to lean. The only thing you can do is manipulate the gas and the brake. This one's a little bit harder, so he's going to have to pull a few more different tricks, and there's a little bit more room for error in this one.
This is the second Unyielding. We had a few donations there. I'm sorry, go ahead and read those out.
Thank you. $5 from Volunteer saying good luck with the run, but I'm sorry to say that the community has just decided that top roach must now be done on the donkey, so rip burn.
Yeah, good try, Bantia.
And we have Wardruns with $25 saying had to donate during this run. Let's make Blaze into an actual all hype.
There is a bid war for this, guys. Get bidding if you want to make myself a little bit of a fool later on, or if you want to see ZZ do it the way it was intended by the game creators.
So now we're going into another thing that shows the power of the editor tools in this game.
So this challenge is relatively straightforward. You have to navigate a maze in which you are in the perspective of the person that is actually going through the maze. ZZ memorizes the route, but it can be pretty frustrating when it's your first time attempting this because he did it very
that was
quickly,
absolutely flawless right there.
Yeah.
That was pixel perfect, as you say.
Yeah. And sometimes the controls can also be pretty frustrating. You can accidentally turn into a wall or something.
Again, once we've got all three challenges, we don't need to finish the level, we just exit.
Okay, so now we get into another track where we can get all three challenges at once. This one is probably one of the more difficult and technical ones, also maybe kind of inconsistent at times, but so the goal of this is we need to do 5 flips, hold a Superman and a private hero. And the other goal is to not touch any of the red arrows on the track. Both those have to be done in a 0-volt run. Now we get to this part right here. Nice.
All right,
Okay,
Blaze
that's
executed that very
actually
well.
quite difficult. You have to not hit the red pipe with your front wheel, yeah, it's difficult getting all three. It's even more difficult getting all three and the gold medal, which we would not go for.
Again, another great example of a track that has a really tricky 3-in-1, but it's very much doable, and quite happy that I pulled that off. Get in. So right here we have to again finish the track while getting the gold medal, so they add a new parameter to this challenge, and getting X amount of flips.
And because of that, we can't do multiple challenges with that.
So here's another good example of something that you don't have to bail out to, but it's easiest if you shoot off your bike and just hit it, because all it requires is that either your bike or your person actually touch it. So a lot of times it's easiest just to propel yourself quickly towards that.
There we saw Purgatory Tower, which was a very good example of showing off an FMX trick that's incorporated into one of the game track challenges. And that was a going to hell pose off the top of the tower.
So now we're getting into the Cactus Challenge chapter of the single player career. Now all the tracks in this section or chapter of the career, originally you were required, and most of them are best to be used with the ATV bike, which is also a new addition in Trials Fusion. from its predecessor. So in this challenge, what he's going to do, he's given a cart full of soccer balls. Again,
Football balls, mate.
Footballs. That is a very random addition, but the idea is that they all have physics, so they're all bumping around along with his riding, and he has to focus and make sure that none of them actually fall out by the time he gets to a certain point.
You'll notice in England and Europe, we play football with our feet, of course. Sorry, okay, so yeah, we're continuing here to progress through, being very careful at the tips, and just to make sure that none of them fall out. There's the altar right there.
Completed if you have one ball left. You just have to have one ball in the call it
Cart.
card to get through the challenge. If you have none, you will just crash. So I tried to do a dead body there, which is also another challenge, just to hold it. It's quite tricky.
It's easiest on this jump.
But, stuff can happen. And yeah, so there are two places you can get it without losing too much time.
Of course, the challenge, you'll notice that a lot of the challenges are named after famous things, famous films.
And now the complete opposite of what we're doing right now.
So here, if it might be a little bit confusing to see what he's trying to do here, is his entire goal in this is to get to the end of the track without going past the speed limit that the game says. Now, you might think that this is just a matter of time, but it's actually pretty difficult because you see from just like a couple seconds ago there's a lot of very steep downhills, so it's very hard to maintain a low speed when you're going off little cliffs like that. So
I wonder how many beep beep beeps we have in Twitch chat right now. But yeah, absolutely. It's just one of these challenges that you have to go very slow on. You do have to obey the speed limit, and it's
trying to go fast.
It's a slow run inside a speed run, if you will.
It, no matter what you try.
All right, so you got that first try too. So
okay, so here's another challenge that shares its name, design with the famous film. This is Gone in 65 Seconds.
And the goal of this challenge right now is to complete the track in 65 seconds or 1 minute 5 seconds also, while doing 5 flips. The 5 flips part isn't the difficult part. The difficult part is actually getting under 1 minute and 5 seconds. It's actually a lot swifter than people think. You have to hit. You have to have the driving line correct. That's one thing to make it very consistent and not do any mistakes. Yeah. So we get across the goal approximately at 1 minute. So we have 5 seconds of error to do whatever, I guess, to do the flips and as something to make it a lot safer. So.
Well, Gone in
58.6. 58 seconds, that's also, yeah, I guess that's even my eye.
And as ZZ kind of touched on there, in every track there is going to be an abundance of different possible routes in which to go through the track to the finish line. And part of speedrunning the game and just speedrunning individual tracks in general is to optimize which set of jumps and routes and skips are combined to be the most efficient, quickest route. So you see, he took a completely different jump across the road there to get the Superman challenge than he did in the first run, because the first one that he took was actually the faster jump, but in this case, that jump was required to make it across the road.
So you might wonder what we're doing here, and go ahead and explain this one, guys.
Yeah. Now, we went all the way to that ramp there, and we're now going all the way back. This is for a challenge where we have 3 penguins and we have to get them wet.
Now, the maker of the game, Red Lynx, which is a Ubisoft studio, likes to pay homage to different games. This one, as you can tell, is kind of a reference to the game Angry Birds on mobile, with the different penguins atop of towers that you throw yourself at.
Now we get to Sunrise Dash. You might see that the track looks kind of different. It's because the camera is slightly in front of the bike instead of behind. Makes it kind of difficult to play this track. And now we're going to also flip the camera. Unlike the challenge that flipped it so it was behind the rider, this also flips the controls. Now, flipping the controls has larger side effects than what people might think, because even if this game we have nothing happens the same. Nothing happens the exact same way. We have to adjust everything, and switching the controls makes the muscle memory that we have for every single thing we've learned throughout playing this game over the years makes them kind of difficult, because you have to think a lot more. Nothing goes automatic.
Exactly. The amount of time you spend playing this game doesn't necessarily reflect how good you'll do at this challenge, because although your ideas about how to approach obstacles might be better, the fact that you've played more of the game means that you've grown more accustomed to the standard maneuvers with the standard set of controls, so when those controls are flipped, it screws even more with your head. So it makes for a very interesting challenge.
Let's see if I can get this. No, he didn't want to do it.
You still got it here.
So they tried to go for a priority over there, and on the Tiger Panda, the priority is actually kind of difficult when you're going fast down. You have to have the you have to be very precise on how you hold the right analog stick, which you use to do FMX. If it's not accurate enough, the rider might just be hanging his feet in the air and not do what you want him to do. So yeah.
So here we have Base Invader, and this is another football spin on the challenge. You have to bail out here, use the bailout mechanic, and hit this soccer ball, football, into.
You said soccer ball.
I did on purpose.
Sure.
Absolutely. Okay. So and this is a lot harder than it looks. Again, I think we got it this time. Nice quick little challenge there. Some people can take a long time on that because you need a very precise bailout with the touch of the head on the ball.
So here we're going to see yet another instance of a mini game integrated into Trials just for this specific challenge that is created in the same engine. So this is going to be a little slidey puzzle game. And the objective of this is to slide the cubes around in order to free the big blue block out of the doorway that you see in the bottom.
So once again, it's not the most difficult puzzle, so memorizing it is not the most difficult one. It's actually quite lenient. If you get to a certain point, then it's pretty much just using logic, and you will always get the blue block out of there.
Interestingly, there's actually a hell of a lot of ways to solve this.
Yeah,
I think in some countries they use it as like an IQ test.
Yeah, this one is one of the things that I got used to, and I'm using it.
And then this is the third challenge on this level, which is to complete the track in X flips. But it's the first introduction of doing. Okay, so here there was a higher route, and it's the most optimal way. But again, there's always the multiple routes thing, and the front wheels of the Panda have pull on them. It's a 4-wheel drive bike, The other bikes, you can only accelerate off the back tire, but with this one, every single one of the wheels has pulling power.
And just another thing worth noting, again, like I said, this the makers of this game like to reference other older video games pretty constantly, and the name of this track, Base Invader, is a little spin-off, Space Invaders.
Now we get to the final TK kind of track. This one is quite a long one, and it has two very interesting challenges. We're going to do 2 in 1 first. Get 2 challenges and the gold medal. The first one is getting a sunstroke. It will create some fun side effects that you might or might not.
You'll see there's a funny little sign in the bottom left of the screen right now showing a penguin cooking a sausage.
So that sign kind of tells that you shouldn't be there for that long. So some interesting side effects. You might see spots of some penguins in the track. And the thing this challenge does is making it blurry, so you most definitely remember where the track is and how to play it. It doesn't really change anything, other than it looks different. So now we get to the second challenge of this one, which is where we have to do 2 flips within the space. Now that's actually more difficult than it sounds like, because there are only 2 places you can do flips, and you have to do it both of those places. And the sunstroke challenge, you have to get 0 faults, unfortunately. So we have to do that.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Again.
Again, with the TK Panda, it has 4 wheels, and if you go back to remembering the tire glitch, that's 4 more opportunities for the game to do something. And you need a very good front flip to get that first flip. I think this is a lot more difficult.
And the main collision boxes for the Panda are still actually in the form of 2 wheels underneath the center of the bike that are just invisible to naked eye. But to make it more realistic looking, there still are small amounts of collisions on the 4 wheels that are visible. And that is enough to allow for more tire glitchiness for this bike.
Yeah, even the smallest differences can make a huge difference when trying to do something.
If we have any donations, feel free to hit us with a few.
We have one donation for €5 by Anonymous saying, "Team is doing a great job."
So again, as doing multiple ones in one track, we're adding more difficulty to it. You can do every single one of them in order. You know, it makes it a lot easier doing one by one. But as speedrunners, we try to combine as much as we can in the same track.
And combining them, some challenges makes the tracks almost impossible. Some of them makes them extremely difficult, kinda, and we'll get more examples of that later with the introduction of hard tracks and extreme tracks as well. But now, focusing on this track right here, we still have one more challenge, which is another reference to old video games. You might realize what it is very quickly.
again, this is another great example to show what you can do in the editor. There are a hell of a lot of board games out there, of course, in the original Trials for the Xbox Arcade, which was Trials HD. I'm not sure if we had any, but definitely in Trials Evolution, which was the second release, we had a game called Sphere, which is one of the skill games, and this is much similar to that. The platforms are a lot more stretched out, but it's the same kind of concept. And there's a hell of a lot of custom games which are made with this, trying to maneuver the ball either through a maze or over a certain series of platforms.
Yeah, this is one of the basic examples of. That's very important. The physics of the ball.
Can we get some Al chokes in the chat, please? If anybody's in
old
there.
joke. You are subscribed, please. Get those out.
We don't have a chat screen, do we?
We don't need them. We have them in our minds.
We know what they're saying.
So, the physics of the ball might seem easier than they actually are. The slowness of the speed they get when you hold one direction is extremely slow, and trying to go, for example, let's say you want to go left. When you're going right, it might take a few seconds to get the ball entirely stopped. And that makes it so you have to always be one step ahead of the ball, which makes it a lot more difficult. And doing this quickly is extremely difficult. The same with the Sphere skill game in Trials Evo, which, since it's a skill game, it scales in difficulty, so that's a lot more difficult than even some of the seemingly trickier ones in this. So, like with these jumps, he's holding the direct button there. Graphics card.
Did the game crash?
Yeah.
The game crashed and the graphics card, I think, crashed. Yeah, the graphics card crashed. Driver.
The graphics.
It's saved.
Just load it back up.
Yeah, we have to load it back up.
Yeah, the entire screen, like it wasn't just the game, the entire
Yeah, I saw it.
desktop was.
Yeah, it's the driver.
No.
Crash sometimes.
There's one thing about this.
The most annoying
There's
thing
this
about that
small-
crash is we got right to the end of the Sphere the second time.
And the most annoying
Can
thing
we
about
pause
this,
the timer, please?
No, let's not pause it. It doesn't matter. Most annoying thing, this might have not saved. If it hasn't saved, we have to load up a save. And it might happen, it might not happen. Hopefully it does happen.
It should be okay.
We're good.
Okay, we're good. So we can continue to run that voice. Not our fault. Yeah, marathon. What can you say? Anything can happen. Even that.
Trials has been known to be a very graphic,
Yeah,
resourceful game. It does demand a lot out of pieces.
it demands a lot, but doesn't use that much. It runs very smoothly, but it runs very smoothly pretty much on anything, but you still need a slightly overpowered PC compared to what it's actually hard to run that this quality. So moving on, yeah, this very challenge slash yeah, a lot more difficult than what that looks like. So maybe the history of this speedrun, maybe take that how it started out, or well,
Then
take that later.
Well, I know at first there were only a couple guys that really attempted this run. It was more of, honestly, at the time that this was started, it wasn't really necessarily, nobody really thought it was going to be a big trials category. Again, most of the big trials categories have to do with completing a certain amount of medals in a regular amount of time, doing tracks the normal way. This was it was a new mechanic in the game, this addition of extra challenges, and it just wasn't taken really completely seriously at the time.
You guys can see how close we were both times to the finish line there. It's marathon luck.
And it wasn't really, after its initial first times that it was ran, it wasn't really touched for a while. And then I picked it up and I started going a little bit more in depth with the route and seeing how I could optimize it.
Do we remember what the first world record was? It's within the last year.
Oh, within the last year?
Yes. Well, year and a half.
The first world record on the game was well over 5 hours. I think.
Over 5 hours. I believe it was like a 5:48.
Yeah. And so after my first attempt on this run was over 5 hours, but I actually, unlike a lot of the other runners that just kind of did it as just a thing to do, I did actually go in and try to break down the run a little bit, and I was able to get down the run to about 2 hours and 40 minutes at the time, which was huge. So at that point, some of the other guys started getting into it, Blaze and ZZ, and they absolutely crushed my record at the time. So it's progressed a lot.
We are very close to having a sub 2 hour run now.
Yeah.
The current world record holder to the right of me here, ZZ, currently has a world record of 2 hours and 4 minutes. We are actively running this, and we do intend to have eventually a run that's under 2 hours. It's possible. It's just very tricky.
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges that a lot of you've seen already that are extremely hard to do 100% consistently. So there are some times when this run is being executed near perfect by the actual player, but just certain aspects of the game are not cooperating, and so sometimes it just comes down to trial and error and just persistence. So
this run is a great example of a speedrun which requires a lot of luck to be able to get a really good time on. There are a hell of a lot of elements that you are really riding your luck out, hoping that you get a good amount, especially in back of the net, the ball that we were pushing earlier. There's one coming up later on Frostbite where we've got to be swinging on some chains. A lot of them do require a little bit of luck, and it's...
Yeah. And yeah. So
of course, some of the challenges are very simple, and you can never not get
some
them.
of them are very simple. I'm probably one of the few runners, because I'm one of the few that's spent a lot of time in this category trying to make it the most consistent as possible, finding new things to save time, making lots of new suggestions that not everyone agrees with, but I'm fine with that.
and still to this day, we're still coming up with new ways of approaching these challenges.
Pretty much 3 hours ago, we found a new way of doing one track.
Yeah,
which saves like maybe 10 seconds, approximately 10-15 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's just small improvements everywhere, but they all count towards some things make it more consistent. Sometimes it just saves time. There's a lot of neat things on here and there.
And just before as he finishes, just explaining again that was another unyielding challenge, which means you couldn't lean. And like we mentioned earlier, the first two unyieldings were in the beginner track section, which means they were big flowing ramps. But in that case, we had a slightly more technical medium track. So it was a very different type of play involved in the techniques he had to use to make sure that he completed the entire track in 0 faults without actually leaning.
And was also another challenge that you might have seen. He caught on fire, and being on fire is another mechanic that exists in this game. The rider had, again, the damage value, but the fire has a certain amount of damage that it deals per second, and when it reaches a certain amount, the rider crash. The only thing of avoiding to crash is to go fast. Like, could you apply logic to that? So you have to go fairly fast when you first catch on fire, and hitting water will hit it out. It's kind of tricky not hitting the water, especially that first jump. Of the other water is very easily avoidable if you take the overdrive.
And there we saw another example of two challenges being done at once. You saw that he was doing a lot of flips throughout that run because one of the challenges was to do a certain amount of flips through a zero fault run, but he's also on the beginner bike, which is the baggy. And the reason he was doing that entire run on the baggy was because another challenge is to do it on the baggy. And as you might expect, doing it on the beginner bike makes the flip challenge with zero faults a lot harder, but it does save time, so it is worth it to go for it in the run.
Yes, and it's not the most difficult thing to do. It's very consistent to get 10 flips and zero fault with baggy. So that's a thing that goes to being always a thing. Now we get to Temple Trouble. Probably the track with combined the most difficult set of challenges compared to track difficulty. This is a medium track, and now we're going for 2 challenges at once. The one we're going for now is getting 5 underdogs and land them. Now, underdogs is upside down and hold the right stick to the right. And that's a lot more difficult than it actually is, because you need a lot of air to make them accepted by the game.
And the intended method for this challenge was to accomplish all these underdog tricks while going through the track in the kind of the manner that he's doing it right now. But what you saw at the start was that he actually did backflips, 3 different backflips while doing underdogs. And what this helps is it makes it more consistent to be going through this track
Saved.
without having to worry about getting too many very risky jumps while doing underdogs. So there he was able to get the flips and the underdogs.
So you can get 2. You can hold with 2 underdogs at the start, and you can do the 3 other ones at specific locations of the track, which are very consistent because you have a lot of air. But how many do you at the start? Just kind of makes it for maybe safe strats, I call them. So now we get the 3rd challenge, which is also similar to Phobia, which I did earlier on sheer pressure. This time you have to avoid all the scaffolding, the very wide, big parts, not the small ones, with one wheel.
And this is also another challenge that doesn't tell you if you've touched your front wheel until you finish the challenge. So
Yeah.
you can see that it was not clear that he at any point touched his front wheel, but apparently the game registered that he did. So he's going to have to go back through and complete the entire challenge again.
Yeah, some of these objects placed, which will void the challenge, they kind of click through the other objects. So you might not have visibly actually touched it, but in the game's code, the tire might have been slightly further into the track than what you thought, and it might void the challenge, which are pretty much this and another challenge where it kind of comes into play.
There's a very small incline there with the angle of the ramp was a tiny bit off than the ramp that we were actually falling on there. So as soon as my back tyre grabbed it, unfortunately it pulled the front tyre down. Some obstacles you'll see have different levels. Some ramps have multiple levels of different objects that are slightly different angles. Sometimes you can get caught.
there are some places on this track where it could get just unlucky.
Nice.
That's the most difficult jump, probably for most people, or for some people. Then you have this part, which could also be difficult because you have to do 2 bunny hops to avoid it.
All right.
Type 1 in chat if you think I hit the orange the first try. Type 2 in chat if you think I didn't hit the orange the first time round.
Because we're totally going to see those results. Because we
Yeah,
totally.
say it back. Curious to know.
One interesting thing, that challenge, the description says you need to zero fault it. That's not entirely true. You can fault on shoddy workmanship and get this challenge. One oversight that won't really matter because you have to. You can't hit any of the scaffolding. If you hit it once and then go back, you still have to reset the track, and most of the time that's the reason why you reset, not because you fault or anything. So we wanted Tropic Storm, which is one of those tracks where we have the ability to do 2 challenges in one attempt with this baggy. The problem with that, it is full throttle 3, and in my opinion, it's the most difficult challenge after Pipe Phobia and Top Roach. Doing this on the baggy with full throttle means that you have to be extremely precise, and you have to be also very lucky at the end to even make a jump. This place right here. Getting up to this rock here is very difficult because you have so little speed available, and when you're going full throttle, you have really no control over how fast you're going. So you have to make it very well. You have to make very consistent ways of doing it. At least try to, but none of us have found a way of doing that consistently. So we're just using a different bike instead to do full throttle. Now we get the preference. I personally prefer using the Pit Viper. Blaze prefers using Roach, both for the same reasons. It's because it's more consistent. It depends on play style and pretty much what you can use. And, there's no set rule to what's the best.
Yeah.
It's just what you feel most comfortable.
And this run, it is all completely. Wow, that was very impressive. But those things that, kind of like what Zzzlol was talking about, that he prefers to do this on the Pit Viper, and it's just as valid. Something nice about this challenge is that you don't have to do any of these in order. You have to unlock the tracks in a somewhat similar order, just due to the progression of the single-player career. But the run relies on completing all 120 additional challenges, but it can be in whatever order you want. So you can, like Zzzlol was saying, he prefers to wait until he has the final, more agile bike to do this challenge, which is another perfectly valid.
Swim, guy. Swim.
Swim.
We can get there.
We can get there.
Come on, guy. Nope.
So another use of bailout. It's kind of fun to miss it.
No. He's touching it. He's touching it. Oh, there we go.
So, yeah, there's a custom trigger there. It happens sometimes. And there's the last challenge.
He be dead.
Likely too early.
Okay, apparently it didn't pop.
It pops on the other camera cut. So that's just unfortunate. You could, like, again, why we are kind of not doing this by ourselves is because trying to focus on this run while doing commentary is very difficult. If you try to commentate this run and playing at the same time, you could miss the most basic things. And if you just like go on full auto and miss certain things you have to do, and waiting for certain challenges to pop is one of those things that we just completely miss and be unaware. It's something that happens to everyone who runs this. And, how does he move his arms?
He wanted to grab it. I don't think he could quite reach. God damn. Alright, here we go.
Yeah.
For this, the trigger, the rider has to get into a specific area box. Obviously we can't see the box itself, but it is there. Sometimes the triggers can be a little bit sketchy like that. Okay.
Now another skill game. To get the gold, it's the fastest way of racking up medals that we need for later. So now we're moving on to the part of the run where the medals will actually count. The start of the run is quite lenient on how many medals you need, but when you get to this point, you need all the medals you can get. At this point, we have, I think, 1 or 2 medals more than what we need, maybe. When we finish this track, we should unlock the next zone on the completion of this track. Well, maybe we unlock it earlier. But yeah, we have 4 more medals, and those will count for the next one again, which is an even stricter one.
Okay, so here we're going to be unlocking the most technical bike, as we mentioned earlier, the Pit Viper. This bike you can do so much more maneuvers on. It's a lot more versatile in the techniques that you can pull off, and we'll let Cindy do a little bit of commentary here.
So this is the fastest overall bike. On the rest of the tracks we're gonna use this bike unless the challenge says otherwise. You need to have played this game a long time to get used to doing this, using this bike, because it's very finicky, and you could flip very easily, and the throttle aggression is a lot higher than the roach. Some people might use the roach on these tracks instead because they are just better at using it.
The best way to describe both bikes, the Pit Viper is the bike with the highest acceleration, and the Roach is the bike with the highest top speed.
So most of this track is just a single speed ride. There's not much happening right now until we get to a certain point. We're going to another of the warp zones, which will put us to the section of this track. So we wait on this rock for about 6-7 seconds, and it will move up and take us to the warp zone.
And as you can probably tell, not all these challenges are very specifically laid out to you. This challenge, for example, it just tells you to complete the warp zone in the info. It doesn't tell you how to get to the warp zone or anything. So first time playing through this, trying to find it, it might take you quite a while to realize that what you have to do is just sit on this specific rock for this specific amount of time. So some of these challenges initially were not even as far as completing them, but just finding out how to do them in the first place took a little while.
So yeah, the development of the speedrun as a category has been a stretched out one, but we have been narrowing it down, very, very fine tuning it, and there isn't much more time saving on this category. We're talking 10 minutes max.
But like we mentioned earlier, there are still things that we are continuing to figure out to actually better the run itself and the route.
Okay, the rocks are very glitchy on this track.
Oh yeah,
No?
I totally didn't get it.
Okay.
So that's one thing that happens. I don't know why it got more inconsistent throughout the times, but sometimes, well, most of the time, the rocks just the physics kind of just say quits, and I got my foot stuck in the ground. Nothing I can do.
There is, of course, a lip to the side of this entrance and the bottom of the sand. Which caught his foot there. Bouncing.
Oh wow, is that them? I can't see. Oh yeah. So, the rocks do anything that want. Please get the point. Thank you.
Come on, bouncing. Nice.
All right, there we
The thing I
go.
do want to notice is just how the rider's voice, the sounds you make, all the ouchie wouchie rules, the owls, you know, it's what we love about the Trial series.
Yeah, this game is not one that takes itself seriously, and that is reflected a lot through the different challenges and the styles of the maps. And it's really a great blend of like action and racing.
Yeah, it's one of those games that are quite complicated, but again, has a few things that doesn't look completely right, but that's completely fine because it's a part of the whole experience of playing this game. There's a lot of funny stuff that could happen completely at random, and it's
Controlling the afterburner mid-flight is one of the most trickiest things out of the challenges we've seen.
yeah, the afterburner challenge gets more difficult the more agile the bike gets.
So here we're going to see an interesting approach. So you'll notice that as it fades to black, Blaze is going to keep going. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow him to get the next checkpoint while he can't actually see the rider. So when he hits B, he's actually one checkpoint ahead, which saves probably a good like up to 10 seconds in the run.
So this challenge increases the difficulty of the track by, I think it's close or is extreme. Or some jumps that are increased range, additional obstacles to get over.
Because we still are going for medals, there is still, although it is pretty difficult, Blaze is still going to try to get the gold medal here.
Those elusive recovery techniques and trials, we were very close.
And he didn't quite get it. He was very close. But again, that is a very hard thing to do, is because there is quite a lot of time wasted waiting for that button to be pressed. So.
We might have had a bit of double tapping there. Yeah, sometimes.
So the other challenge we did, what we're going to do now is do 5 backflips. Kind of misleading because as far as I know and everyone knows is that you need to land 5 separate backflips. If you get a double backflip, it still counts as one backflip. No idea why, but that's how it is. Let's now get to another track where we can do all the challenges at once. It requires us to use the baggy, slowest bike, and this is actually quite difficult, but if you know what you're doing, this should go fairly fairly reasonably quickly. And we are also aiming to get the gold medal. So first,
deburning,
there is
I
just
need debriefing.
holding an endo for 5 seconds. And,
There's a lot of comedy in a lot of the narration in this game.
and rolling back to a penguin, and now it's one slot of penguins on the track. Don't touch the penguins if you thought about doing that. Just don't. They are not too friendly, even though they like to play tennis with you. They don't like being touched at all. So we might see it, we might not see it, but the baggy is quite difficult to handle.
Nice.
Nice. So that jump right there is probably the most difficult one. It's the faintest touch of penguin.
Fortunately, he
and
doesn't have to get 0 faults while doing this challenge. So
Yeah, no 0 faults. We still want to get less than.
Yeah, I mean,
5
zero
faults.
faulting this track with the worst bike in the game on a hard difficulty would be interesting.
Yeah. And now we get to I'd say the only huge on-purpose glitch we do.
Okay, so I'll explain a little bit about this. Again, we're using the bailout mechanic and the hanging on with holding Y to activate the darkness sequence here, but as soon as we see the smoke, we know it's going to come regardless, so we revert to the previous checkpoint. And if we get into a further advanced checkpoint really fast, even if we fault, the game will stay in the dark state, which is never an intended thing.
Yeah, and when you reset on track, it will go back to being completely bright. And at that time, before we knew this, we had to do this track 3 times. Now we have to do this 2 times. One for completing the track in dark and doing this one, which we couldn't normally do. Still dark. That means we did activate the glitch correctly. And finishing the track to get the blackouts. We still have to circle the track with the roach, but in full fire. So we're not missing on the entire thing of not halting.
Again, for a bike that has no suspension, a lot of these jumps, a lot of these landings, you have to hit near perfect to be able to transverse successfully.
one of the other disadvantages of using the roach in these more technical tracks is that the roach has a very low engine block to the ground, which means when the roach is traveling over more sharp edges, it can have a chance of nicking the engine block and lifting the back or the front wheel off the ground in a way where you lose traction or flip over. So you have to be very careful with how you hit ramps.
More penguin awesomeness.
Yep.
So yeah, this penguin liked the race, and we're gonna race it, and we're gonna crush it, literally.
So in this challenge, you're actually encouraged to touch the penguin. In fact, you have to get to him quickly and touch him in a certain amount of time. And if Blaze can get to him quick enough, then he'll be able to do another challenge in the same run. There we go. Booped
So
him.
that's if we get it before that point, we can do this challenge right here, which is to grab the tree and yeah, be a part of it. So that penguin challenge is quite difficult. You have to be very quick. It's actually easier to get it earlier than later, because at later points it will kind of gain a bit more speed. And you have to pretty much not make any mistakes to catch the penguin.
And along with that, along with it being getting kind of faster as you go along, like we said, you will, if you don't get it anywhere past that checkpoint, you will have to restart the track in order to get that pine challenge. So it's really critical to the run and this set of challenges to get that penguin as quickly
And this
as possible.
animation sequence here will let you guys enjoy this one.
Yeah.
Yep. So the penguins are not very happy about the rider invading their little base.
The best face. So, getting all 3 challenges makes us get the silver, which is just fine. Now another skill game. Probably the most known skill game, Ice Climb.
Won't be seeing much of this skill game, but shout out to the ninja scene with Trials and everybody who's completed this. This gets increasingly difficult the higher you get up. Unfortunately, we're not going to be seeing much of it because, again, all we need is the gold medal, which is at 70. But yeah, this goes from an easy to a medium to an expert, extreme and ninja, and then it goes much harder than you can imagine. And check out on YouTube at some point. Anybody watching and interested, look up.
Yeah, the ninja community in Trials is a pretty big one, but even within that community, there are still a very, very small amount of people that have completed the track. And once again, we saw there that ZZ bailed out at the last possible moment after he got the amount of distance required to obtain the gold medal.
Yeah. So, that challenge, that skill game gets extremely difficult. The few is less clear.
If any of you guys have eaten or drinking recently and get queasy,
Yes.
do look away.
Yeah. We've created a multitude of challenges like this, which goes from being slightly nauseous to absolutely terrible. And yeah, don't play those 3 challenges. This makes no difference to the physics. It just changes the camera angle at times.
Yeah.
But that actually affects our judgment of that fact.
You might want to explain that one.
So, tapping the brakes to increase, to get the bike to be going to a clockwise direction is literally called tapping. And it's one of the most used techniques most runners or most players of this game plays the extreme tracks and higher.
It is quite a crude word, of course. We don't know the origins of said word in Trials, but
that's what it's called.
It's what we call it. It's been, it's been spread around like wildfire, and it's just what everybody calls it now. It's a very common used word in the Trials community.
And what you did there is actually very difficult. Getting the neurotoxology challenge, which makes the camera all funky, and the cave baggie, I think it's called. Getting a 0 fault on the baggie on this track is actually one of the
Just love how it sounds like a Brits song. That makes it so much easier. You always go to the previous right levels. Right left.
Flips
So
on the track because it's there's a lot of bombs, and again it's a hard line. So to do all these flips in the same track, it's a very tricky combination.
So yeah, that's just how
Danger Will Roberts.
difficult this track kind of is, because all the hazards laying around, the moving driving line, moving objects you have to drive on. It makes this challenge kind of annoying at times, and difficult, even though we've played this so many times. And doing flips at the same time also kind of messes with your driving line, so that's also one thing that makes the difference. So next up is coming one challenge that's some people have issues with.
Yeah, this Lucy, as I call it, is a very interesting challenge. Nicely done.
Very nice. That is very hard to get consistently, and I think he just got the entire challenge first try. Wow.
So yeah, that,
Lucy in the Sky, the hard challenge on that track.
oh yeah, donation is bid war.
Can we check the status of the bid war, please?
So here's another example of speed running through the track for the most part until we get to a point where we can accomplish a goal. He got it really fast there, so it wasn't really abundantly clear what time he was fighting against, but the train is actually, from the moment you start entering that area, the train is on its way out of the station. So what you have to do is you have to race through that section until you get to the door and shut it in time so the train doesn't leave.
For the bid war, right side up is currently leading with $56.
Okay, so will that work? Yeah. Alright, so
Right, Lindish.
okay, bid war.
You have one.
Is mine?
Yep.
Okay. This is gonna be interesting.
So, me and Zzzlol, we have very different approaches to this challenge. I like to get a bit experimentative, add a bit of fun to the speedrun. Some people think it's cheating. I don't. But what we're doing here is the way the creators intended to do it, right? The entire screen has been flipped upside down, and we're trying to do 3-in-1. So that's hit every single one of these blue signs, play it on the roach, which again is not the technical bike, and we're on a very technical track, and complete it all within under a fault limit, which is five faults. One of probably the hardest combination to do in the entire run.
ZZZ is very good at doing this upside down. It's incredibly hard to master, being able to, especially like we said earlier, when you have something, after you've played the game for so long and you have this idea of how the game moves and how to interact with the interface and the camera angles and stuff. It's very hard to adjust to changes like this, but ZZ copes pretty dang well.
Incredible. We got it the intended way, guys. Get in.
Didn't
I
get the
give
goal,
that a round
but
of applause myself as well. Put those clappers in the chat, everybody who's watching. Incredible.
didn't get gold, but I got the challenges which matters. The
Yep.
medals do not count that much.
First
Challenge.
Okay, so on this track we have a series of little buttons here that are kind of hidden, same texture as the floor. And the reason why we skipped over that one is because the puzzle is already in the right orientation. These little puzzle things that you see, one will be turning in a second. They move around, and as you stand on it with the bike, they will turn. And it's a specific order for the challenge to pop.
Yeah, and these combinations are available on the track. The first one you'll find is by doing another challenge that I'll do later, which will give you a squirrel, and then that will give you a hint to what this combination is. So I jumped over the first button because if I land on it, I have to wait for it to spin all the way around, and since it's already in the correct position,
Faceplant was completely intended for style points.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be doing the swinging bars challenge. This is very similar to a skill game in Trials Evolution called Mr. Vertigo, except these bars are a lot further away than in that skill game. And we're basically going to be launching ourselves quite far distances and trying to latch onto these and get into the treehouse, which is elevated at really high elevation.
The point of this challenge is to swing your rider all the way over. It is kind of difficult. What we do as a
Again, you gotta love the Trials dude's voice.
this safe way of doing this is by making the rider's body hit hit the actual swing set, which will, instead of relying on the arms, which are very fragile. That was something I don't want to do. making it extra safe, just not waste all this time.
Nice. We just clipped in.
Now we have to be, well, since I got the silver on
Redlings.
Redlings Derby, we have to get the silver on this one. We came in with 94 medals, so now we need 2 extra medals. If I got in gold, we still have to do this track, but we have to do we just have to get in and bail. 100 meters is the silver, and now we have the final track, which is the end of any percent. So now we are done with the medal routes. We have all the medals we need. Anything we do from now will be just for challenge compensation. And yeah, getting the challenges done as quickly as possible without caring about any medals. So this is the last warp zone in the game. It's not the last warp zone we'll see. We still have one more to do.
Note the size of these cubes.
Yeah, and this, you can see that the warp zones got slightly more difficult, as this is the last one.
You can get a fender save there.
That's adjusting to whatever you get and to build it. So this is an extreme, close to the extreme difficulty warp zone. So let's see what we can do here.
All right, so right here, Blaze is going to go for something. This is not. This is just a showcase of a bug that is just kind of a.
We
fun
might
bug.
lose a minute here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't quite get it, but as you can see, we're casually stuck inside a rug at the moment. The tire of the bike doesn't know what it's doing with itself, and the rider's, well, it looks a bit painful, but it's just something that we wanted to show. And if we had have got to the checkpoint, which was a little bit further in front of us, we would have had the track to be completely dark for the remainder.
And we'll also
He also hit restart,
yeah, which
so we have to redo this.
We won't go for it again, but it was just a nice little glitch that we wanted to show off.
So we have a different. The different outcome of this is actually hitting the checkpoint, which will then force us to restart the track. What happens then is that the background is the same as what background is used in this, but for some reason it looks perfect after a while. It's kind of strange. Like, it's all these small things that you don't really expect to test this is fine. It's so out of the way that it doesn't really matter. It's just for the fun of the game. It's just for that. So that's one of the challenges. Now we're going to move on to the other challenge, which there are 3 red spots on the track where you have to hold the wheelie for approximately 4-5 seconds. You have to do that 3 times in 3 different spots to make all those 3. And again, the amount of faults we get and the time does not matter at this point. Now that's 2. We have one on here, which will complete the challenge. Then we have to finish the track to unlock the rest of the tracks that we are going to do later.
Yeah. Finishing this track and getting to the end credits will also unlock, along with the other tracks, maybe you just mentioned this, but along with the other tracks, it'll unlock the rabbit bike, So we'll be able to go back through the challenges we left behind in the easy, medium, hard tracks and complete the rabbit challenges.
So right here, this is where the game's credits to roll, but of course we have more to do, so we're not going to let them roll through.
We're not close to done yet. We have a lot to do. Lots of stuff to do. So most of the backtracking we do in this game, or cleanup, is done with a rabbit. It's why we have to go through these tracks. This challenge right here requires to do 15 flips on rabbit. It's only 15 flips. If you fall, it doesn't matter. So it takes some time to do this. So we try to do as many flips as possible throughout the way. It doesn't matter if you crash, you just go back to the checkpoint and you still have your count.
One thing to note is by spamming X, your bike will move faster through the air. We've mentioned it earlier in the run on the Unyieldings. And this is a nice little way to get those last flips. You just use the checkpoint to your advantage.
It's a lot faster to get flips, reset the checkpoint every single time, rather than playing the track. And that's the fastest place to do it on. Just complete the track, get as much as possible to that point, and get the rest of them there. This is the other tracks where we also have to do a zero-fault run instead on the rabbit, which is, in theory, quite easy. But with the randomness of this game, it could go very badly.
Nice little explosion there. Send you flying across the map.
Also because we have only the one challenge, we still have one hard challenge. That's to get 4 flips. We have to hit this explosive and get 4 flips like that. Now we have to land.
Interestingly, I have had that little pipe there. The thing that goes off the top and you saw rolling away at the end can hit you in the head and cause some problems.
Also, another thing that can happen is it shoots you up at exactly vertical, which means that you don't have enough momentum to clear the gap, and that will eliminate your ability to complete the track with 0 faults. So you just you'll have to restart the track on the rabbit.
Okay.
Yeah, we might crash there if we go too far back. So this was a new strat we found literally today. We thought that we couldn't get all 3 in one, but we could. Just have to bail out before we get to the checkpoint. Just before, that checkpoint has a yellow obstacle on it. And one of the challenges are that don't touch any of the yellow objects. There's a checkpoint, there's the yellow object. If we got that checkpoint and reset, we would not have got the challenge. Also, this challenge is again like Shoddy Workmanship, where you have to not hit anything with front wheel. This one you can't hit any of the yellow objects with any wheel. And you could get bone. Like, we don't know yet if we have it.
Oh, it looked painful.
Getting it again.
Yeah, the Trials rider is constantly subjected to not very pleasant things, and this is just one of them where you're trying to impale him on the end of this pole.
Yeah, this challenge is
Man,
none of us are able. Blaze was having a consistent threat on doing this. Okay,
We got it.
It's so finicky. Now we maybe get to see. No, we didn't get it.
Okay, interesting.
So we got boned on the. They belong to Mafia challenge, which is to again not hit any of the yellow obstacles.
Yeah,
some of these objects actually.
Some
slip
of these
through the
cars
snow.
where like they're buried, it's where you can fail it. And there's one other one at the end where you're touching the top of a ramp.
Yeah.
This should be good this time.
Yeah, and this one is particularly dangerous. And this jump.
It's hard to tell.
Shouldn't have
He
worked.
might have glitched through there. It's hard to
Yeah,
tell.
it might happen again.
Nope, we got it.
There we got it. Same thing happened, it seemed like, but 2 different outcomes. So,
As mentioned earlier when we're on this track, there's a lot of tracks that we don't complete until we get the further advanced bike, and this is a good example of it. We're coming back here because we have to go through another warp zone 2, and again, it's one that's best done on the more technical bike.
now I'm going to waste intentionally a few seconds at the end here. There are 2 ways of doing of missing this challenge. It's by going too slow or faulting. The faulting way is kind of interesting if you go too fast. So why do we wait a few seconds, like to there? Release the boat. So that boat, it plays a cutscene. The cutscene confirms that we've got the challenge. The goal is to blow up that boat.
Sheer force
We
from an
kinda
explosion
missed it.
causes a ship to just tip magically by itself.
Yeah. So somehow the blast was powerful enough to sink the ship. Even though it completely missed.
Don't question it. Yep. Don't.
There's also another way of doing it. It wastes a lot more time, which involves faulting but going very quick, which will then make the boat with explosives go straight through the boat. Like, just cut straight through it, and it's
Nice little routing path there. We didn't quite get it, but it's not intended.
Yeah, so it's intended for you to jump up from the second block up to the third above, but you can just kind of slip right between them and do a little bunny hop off that. So what he's trying to do there is rest on his engine block and allow himself to drift back a little bit, and then from there he can fap really hard and pull himself back up on his nose.
get your Cactus and Craig gases.
Yep. Cap is at the ready.
Hard.
This warp zone is not fun on the baggy.
We're not going to use a donkey this run. An old friend of ours from Evo and other game and early games will not use it for obvious reasons. So again, last bit of the cleanup, getting a zero-fault run on the rabbit. Not the most difficult part, but still this track has a few places
Yeah.
where you could get kind of.
Something important to note on the Rabbit is that it's got really good acceleration, it's very agile, good grip, but one of its major downsides is that it has a very low top speed. So there are a lot of situations that you'll find yourself, you'll see how fast you accelerate, and then you'll go at a jump that seems easy enough, but you'll find that it's actually very difficult to complete just because the top speed of the bike is so low compared to its acceleration. So some of these jumps are harder than they might look initially.
Okay, and we are done with the cleanup and moving on to the
Something that I know a lot of the fans of category speedruns with the trials
let's
we're
just
looking
check
forward
now,
to here.
or you just want to check? Okay, we
We
have,
do have 105 there. It's a nice little checkpoint
Yep.
that we have to make sure that up to this point we've done all the challenges. There's 15 more to go. And going back to what I was saying here, these are now the extreme tracks, which are the hardest difficulty in the base game. And this is, for me, the most enjoyable part of the run, is the climax of a great speed run. Shows off some of the best skill in the base game. On this particular challenge, we have to collect every single flower, or rather smash them, in order on this extreme track.
Yes, and that forces us to fault and bail a lot of times. So every single time we fault are intentional.
The thing with the extreme tracks, as we get into the extremes, the difficulty spike comes from more steep inclines, more obstacles to be hopped between really fast, quick elevation changes, all these things that you have to adjust to a faster, faster kind of reflex, if you will, just increasing the difficulty.
Every fault is intentional.
Absolutely intentional.
So this last one's actually past the finish line, but we want to bail out to avoid actually crossing the finish line so we can go back and do this bar challenge.
Most people who will finish that challenge, of course, will finish the track as soon as that challenge is finished. But of course, if you bail out onto it, or just bail out in general, your bike will fall onto it, and the rider can also, with a precise bailout, touch it. Right here, we are waiting until the water spring in the distance is gone, and it opens up this secret part of the level.
That first jump is a lot more difficult than what it actually is.
Oh!
That one is also quite difficult.
Dude, nice.
Nice.
Ooh.
Oh.
Whatever.
That didn't have anything to do with the challenge. We just like to do a little move there, making things more interesting.
I missed it, but we might see it later. So you have to do these two challenges in this order, because this challenge finishes the track. So if we don't do the flowers before this, we won't get them at all. Now we get to the more difficult part of this.
A lot of the times it is very important to do the challenges in a set sequence, so you are able to do them in one playthrough instead of having to reload or reset the track.
Yeah, so this is going to be the final do X amount of flips challenge in the run, and this is during a zero fault run. So you have to do a zero fault through an extreme track while executing a certain amount of flips. And because this is a slower, more technical track, not only is it hard to do the zero fault run while doing the flips, but it's hard to find room for the flips. So basically any chance he has to get like a good amount of air, he's going to go for a flip. And it is going to make it a little bit harder.
Essentially what we're having to do here, for anybody familiar with the medal counts in Trials, is we're having to get the platinum medal while doing these amount of flips. Very, very tricky.
He did it.
Nice.
That's platinum. You can. The 5 flips on that can actually be done in a single place if you don't feel comfortable doing them on the track. You have places where you can do all 5 flips, but it's actually more consistent to go to a set spot on the track and do all 5 5.
If we have any last-minute donations, now would be a great time to hit a few. No? Donations? Okay. Save the pics, guys.
So this is again an example of doing multiple challenges at once. We activated this challenge first. It doesn't matter if you do it. Fine. With this challenge right here, holding the endo, it doesn't save time doing it immediately before turning into Primitive Man. But doing Primitive Man and their challenges are called the Keep Your Trilby On and Trials Backwards Evolution, which is an obvious reference to Trials Evolution. So what one of the challenges do is increase the track difficulty slightly. Sometimes
It's mostly just different. It's
Yeah.
not too much harder.
it's not the biggest difference. It's very minor. There are some, like most of the places that are removed, we don't need anyways. And that's a very, very consistent and effortless 2-in-1. So now we do Frostbite, same kind of 2-in-1 challenge. Just because it's kind of more interesting to watch. If you look closely at the bike, you might see how physics actually work in this game.
Okay, so right here, this actually changes the bike's physics by a slight amount. It's almost like there's a dummy object on top of the rider's seat, if you will, where the engine of the other bikes would be. And the idea here is, you know, to take these jumps one at a time. We can't see the rider, but we don't need to be able to see the rider. With enough trials playtime, you know, it's easy enough. Again, spamming the X there to get over, and again.
Yeah. And because you can't see the rider moving, and the fact that the rider's movements are very essential to the ability for the bike to move, you'll see that it just looking at the bike itself, it seems like a lot of janky, disconnected movements when in fact there's a lot more going on that you just can't see.
Close.
Didn't get that save, you guys.
Didn't get the infamous save.
Oh.
Again, of course, we can't see it, but it's possible to crash. Touch your head. It's very
Your
difficult
invisible
to
head.
judge where he is.
Yep. That checkpoint is probably the most difficult one on the rabbits, just because he has so little place to move around.
Nice.
And the throw control needs to be spot on to not flip around. So now we get to the, I don't know what to call it.
Oh, so close.
If you hit, so that's one thing.
So the interesting thing about this is what we're wanting to do is we're wanting the Trials dude to change himself so that the arm, when we're swinging, is facing towards the new, the chain and hook. It is possible to touch it. Again, the hanging on mechanic in this game can be a little bit inconsistent. It's just something you have to go with and hope that you get a little bit of luck to keep grabbing and holding onto these chains.
So yeah, depending on how bad luck I get,
Definitely
this
should
could
have
take minutes.
Definitely should have grabbed there.
Yeah, there's a lot of dumb things that you should like do, like obvious grabs. That why did that grab? I was least expecting that to grab. Another problem that we'll get is the second one there. You actually have the chance to grab the thing that the first chain is connected to So if you go too far to the left, you'll actually grab a different object, and you'll have very difficult times getting back on the chain without falling straight down. This is a bad spot. This is a very bad spot. Okay, we got it, and we only need to touch the platform.
Nice,
to
the
get-
backwards grab. We got it.
Yeah. So now, Oso is gonna do things.
All right, so I was requested to do this one just because of doing all the challenges in one.
There's a challenge in this one which is much more towards the ninja aspect. Me and ZZ are primarily speedrunners and category speedrunners, but again, there are a lot of people in Trials who get their enjoyment out of playing custom tracks that are extremely difficult, more difficult than any in-game asset. And what we're going to be doing here and what we're going to be seeing is all three in one. And we'll point it out when we get to it, but it's a pretty crazy feat. Of course, this track is the Inferno series, which has continued through all the Trials games in the past. And this is Inferno 4. In previous Trials, we've had Inferno 3, Inferno 2, which has also been on Gold Edition, and Trials HD, of course.
Yeah.
And then the original Inferno.
And it's important
way
to
back
know
then.
that this is not my controller, so
Yeah, we could talk about that.
I'm not gonna be playing,
Yeah,
especially stuff with the triggers.
we can talk about that. So the controllers we actually play with, I play with the DualShock 4 controller. Blaze plays with an Xbox 360 controller, wired, and Ozo also plays with a wired 360 controller. The problem though is that those 360 controllers are very different because you have very small differences in the throttle. The analog stick will make a lot of difference to what you're used to. Like me, I play with the DualShock 4 because I prefer the way the layout of the analog sticks. I like the responsiveness and pretty much all the feel of the controller. The same reason these guys also have.
I love the 360 controller because it's very easy to judge the throttle on. It's easier to get those precise bunny hops as you're landing. A lot of the time, people ask me, this is Trials used on the PC, can you play this with keyboard and mouse? Do people play this with keyboard and mouse? And yes, we have some very good players who play with keyboard and mouse, but I think it's something that if you do approach wanting to play this game with keyboard and mouse, you might have a little longer road to getting used to it, but the game is very viable on many inputs.
You might want to describe the advantages of the controller over keyboard and mouse, because
the advantage of the controller is the ability to be able to use throttle control, so to press the trigger on a controller down a percentage. Say we want to put it halfway down, it means that the acceleration will be at half power for going up steeper inclines, that kind of thing. Nice for the checkpoint there. With the keyboard, and for anybody who doesn't use throttle, because it is possible to use the acceleration with A or one of the I forget what it is on PS4, but on the keyboard you have to mash the up button, which is for the acceleration. That's the only way you can get a throttle here. Can we get this invisible fender hook? We did.
that is not the best way to do that, but I just felt like going for that.
It looks cool, lads.
So just quickly to explain what's going on here, this is the ridiculously hard ninja-esque challenge, and what we're doing here is we're doing an invisible wheelie for 10 seconds. The front tire is not touching the ground, and we're holding it for quite a damn long duration. Disrespecting the teacher,
That's
invisible.
insane. It's
Incredible.
Again, another, oh, okay.
I got it within 6 minutes or 10 minutes, and I also can do it in under 30 seconds.
We get a fender? Yeah, we got a
Nice,
fender.
another invisible fender. I'll explain a little bit very quickly about the fender. The fender is what's of course on the back side of the bike. You can get obstacles that aren't too thick stuck in between the fender and the wheel, and when you accelerate, it will bring you back round to a normal position.
I'm also, you'll notice that I've been bailing out for these explosives. I'm getting, I have to touch all explosives except for this last one, which I don't think was intentional, but I guess they just forgot to make it so you had to get that last one. But yeah, that's Inferno 4, all 3 challenges.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
So now we get to the final track, the final 3 challenges. Yeah. So now we get into the finale of this run.
I mean, yeah, for the next 2 challenges, you can go ahead and read some donations if we have them.
No donations.
No donations? Okay.
This is another challenge that's pretty finicky. You have to do a triple backflip, and even though it's pretty clear that he did a triple backflip there, it didn't register, so it can take a few attempts.
Yeah, this is one of those very small, seemingly not that difficult challenges that could just waste a lot of time. Like, you need 3 flips, and getting 3 flips is, yeah.
There we go.
What?
Well, again, like we said, it was very clearly a triple backflip, but the game didn't register it. It's not really something we can control.
Yeah, it's sometimes doesn't look. If you get a lock and hit
So
the ground,
if anything, that one was like
was
2 3/4, but
Yeah.
it registered, so.
Another challenge, which is just to complete the track with the rabbits. There's a reason why that's the one that gets the least amount of experience, or it's ranged as the least difficult one, because you only have to finish the track with the rabbits. And the rabbit is not particularly more difficult than the pit viper, because it doesn't need, this track we do not really need the top speed except for one jump, where it could be kind of tricky, but you are not limited to faults.
It also is not important to get a 0 fault run on this track
Yeah,
with the
it's-
rabbit. That will come in the next and final challenge,
Yeah.
which is the most technical challenge in the game.
This jump is feared by many people. Those who are combat fair will start to get this one as well.
Oh. Very nicely done.
Yeah, so 1 fault that on the first attempt.
Blaze
is-
getting through that in just 1 fault, or I guess 2. Basically 1 fault.
Whatever.
Well, we count it as 1 fault. We'll count it as 1.
Okay. Now here comes the hardest challenge in the
Now-
game. Let's see how long this takes me.
The most difficult challenge in the entire game.
We call this top roach. And many people, many experienced people still haven't finished this because of just how difficult it is.
Now, it's important to note that the last challenge was to complete the track on the rabbit. This one is to play on the very much more clumsy, very heavy, slower acceleration bike, the Roach, and get a 0 fault run. So this is probably by far the most technical challenge in the game. Some people argue that it's not, but I think at least all 3 of us agree that it's the most technical challenge. See, a moment like that, it might seem like a very silly mistake, but at the same time, because of how low the engine block is, and I mentioned before that sharp edges don't deal well with the engine block, it's really easy to get caught up and lose contact on the wall or the rock because of that. Just gonna try to do a backflip and cover. Didn't quite get it there.
again, one of those collisions things.
Yeah, these rocks do not have perfectly square collisions. They have little nicks and crannies in them that you have to account for. Not all of which are actually visible, unfortunately. So you kind of have to memorize where they are and adapt.
I think the current world record has, is it a 5 minute 30 top roach? I think I clocked it in as.
Approximately 5 minutes.
That's not the world record fastest top roach, but the current record time has a 5:30 top roach in it. Nah.
We will get this.
Yeah. That jump right there is by most regarded as the most difficult jump.
Nice. That is the hardest jump. Can we get ready for time? You ready to call time?
And time.
Time. What was that? 22 hours, 22 minutes, 33 seconds.
That's very good.
Pretty good. Good job, guys.
Okay, so there was Charles' Fusion, all challenges percent, all 120 challenges done in under 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Oh, it's 32, not 22.
You read it to me as.
No, he said 22, so.